Welcome back to latest TV entertainment news with me, Andrew Kay. Earlier I spoke ABBA, friendship and working with your husband to Ian Hallard, writer and star of a new play, The Way Old Friends Do.
I'm thrilled to be joined by Ian Hallard and James Bradshaw, who are on tour now with a new show that Ian has written called The Way Friends Do. And for those of us who are ABBA fans, we all know that that's a lyric stolen from one of their songs, but one of their less-known songs. But how did you start writing this? I mean, have you always been an ABBA fan? And let's face it, have you secretly been dressing up as one of those girls all these years, Ian?
Gosh, that's quite a few questions all at once. Well, it's actually, to be entirely pedantic, I have to correct you slightly. It's The Way Old Friends Do. There's another word in there. And it's not just the lyric to a song, it's the title of one of them as well. But yeah, you're quite, it's an album track. It wasn't ever one of the big sort of hits. I haven't been dressing, well, I suppose I dressed up as Agneta when I was 3 years old. My mum knitted me a pair of woolen yellow plaits when I was only a child, and I used to dance around the living room to take a chance on me. So I suppose you could say I started off very early in life, but I've not done it since. So I've had a very big chunk. There's been a big gap where I didn't dress up as her, and now I'm doing it again professionally. What were the other questions? That was the one I got. I got distracted by that one.
When did this first come to mind, this idea?
Well, I wrote it in the summer of 2019, or at least I wrote the first draft then. And I'd been thinking about writing something. Various people had asked me over the years whether I'd ever considered doing so. And they just say, write what you know. So I thought, well, okay, that's the one big passion in my life, which is your other question. Yes, I have been an ABBA fan all my life. So I thought, right, well, I'll write about that and do a little bit of wish fulfillment, and there we go.
James, let me ask you: have you been an ABBA fan for all this time as well?
I went through a stage in the early 90s, and I remember there was a sort of there was an upsurge of ABBA. All of a sudden, they became popular again. So about sort of 92, I remember buying ABBA Gold, and I loved Dancing Queen, and it was very popular. There seemed to be a real sort of retro explosion, sort of 70s disco came back in the 90s. So yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't remember them so well when I was younger in their heyday. I've got faint memories of them, but it was kind of the early 90s for me where I really got into ABBA. But not as much not in a big way as Ian did.
So none of the dressing up then?
No, sadly. The only thing I used to dress up in when I was younger, I developed a liking for bow ties and cravats.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. Yes.
So yes, but I didn't really.
And nothing else.
No, there was other things as well. Suits,
right. Just checking.
Yes, not just bow ties, other clothing as well. Okay. But yeah, I never sort of wore the frocks. So this is why it's such a lovely experience to be dressing up as ABBA. Lots of sequins.
The play is strung around ABBA, but really it's more about friendship. Is that right?
Yes, I'd agree with that. It's very much about friendship, devotion, and betrayal as well, and how painful that can be. I think betrayal in a friendship is more painful in a relationship, really, than in a relationship. Because I think friends have such strong bonds. And also it shows that even if you haven't seen a friend for a long time, if they're a really good friend, as with in the play, Peter and Edward, that bond doesn't go away. You've got a lot of shared history, a lot of deep-seated affection there as well.
And of course, a thread in the play has to be homophobia and homosexuality. Yeah. Is it based, Ian, on personal experiences?
I suppose vaguely. I mean, it's not sort of directly autobiographical. The things that happen in the play, by and large, haven't happened to me, although Edward's sort of backstory, where he was actually expelled from a school because he'd actually just dared to kind of tell another boy he liked him. Something similar happened to at my school. He wasn't actually expelled, but a guy was suspended just because he'd made advances to another boy. and Jimmy and I have talked about this a lot, about just the fact of being gay men of our age, that we grew up in an era of Section 28 at school, where it was a lot of tabloid homophobia, the background of HIV and AIDS, and all the all pervasive advertising with icebergs and tombstones, which of course you could argue were doing good things in some respect, but it was quite scary for teenage kids growing up at that time. So you carry all that baggage with you, and the characters, certainly because they're of an age with us, certainly have all that as well.
Yes.
Although I think it's the kind of thing that you, without making it sound that's all sort of backstory. I don't want to give the impression that the show is very heavy on that kind of thing. But although at the same time, I mean, I think also it's we carry that baggage, but we don't spend our entire time pondering on it. It's there in the background. You're aware of it, but I don't think it's actually realistic. People don't kind of relitigate all that stuff every single second of the day, and unless you go into therapy, and that's not what the play is.
Oh, the play is in fact a comedy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But do you actually sing on stage, or is it all? Are you lip syncing?
No, we have got some singing. Yeah. I mean, it's a play rather than a musical, and so yes, you're not. Audiences aren't coming and seeing a full ABBA tribute band concert. There are plenty of other outlets in order to go and do that and see that. And also, obviously, it's complicated in terms of rights. We're very lucky to have the rights to sing the one song that we do. But I think we might have run into difficulties if we were trying to kind of, well, it's not Mamma Mia, basically.
Right. I mean, there's a really strong link to Brighton with ABBA, of course. It was here in 1974 that they actually won the Eurovision with Waterloo. Are either of you Eurovision fans?
Ian?
Come on, Jimmy. You go first, Jimmy.
I haven't been for the last few years, actually. I mean, I was a big Eurovision fan. It seemed to have lost interest for a while, and then all of a sudden, I think there's been an upsurge, hasn't there? So I think people are sort of tuning in more to the Eurovision now. But I think it's always quite special, isn't it? It's always. I mean, I remember it in the 80s. Sort of Johnny Logan and obviously ABBA and all those people. And I used to love that music, and Bobby Socks as well. We were talking about Bobby Socks, weren't we?
Yeah.
When I was growing up. Let it swing. So when I was a kid, I loved all that stuff. Yeah, I loved all that stuff, and I hope we'll always have Eurovision. I just think maybe when it goes back to its roots, when it's fun and vibrant, it's at its best, really.
Yeah, it was very sad the year that it couldn't happen because of COVID, and there was and the BBC did an event. I think was it for the 50th or 60th anniversary at Hammersmith, the Hammersmith Apollo, where it had some of the old acts, including Bobby Socks. And it was really moving seeing them all kind of come back. I've watched it most years. We either host a Eurovision party or attend one. The only years that I'd kind of miss it is if I'm actually on stage, which I will be this year. So I probably certainly won't see it live this year.
I was going to say, I mean, you're actually performing on the night of the event. Will you get an audience on the 12th?
Ooh, I hope so.
I hope, yeah. Yes, who knows? But no, I think it's a really joyful, kind of joyous event, and it's the gay man's equivalent of the World Cup, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely,
and obviously far more important than football.
Absolutely. Well, I think I've done really well getting through the interview without talking to you about your husband. But there is one question. What was it like being directed by him and then having to go home and just be husband and husband?
Is this question to me or Jimmy?
To you.
I'm not married. I'm still single.
Me too, Jimmy. Me too.
Maybe by the end of the week at Brighton.
Oh, I hope so.
Jimmy can probably answer better than, I mean, I don't know whether any of the other cast had any kind of apprehension about coming into a rehearsal room with a married couple. But no, I mean, we have worked together before, not strictly in this combination as writer / actor and director, but we were fairly confident that having done so and done fairly easily before that it would all be okay, and there wouldn't be any huge marital bust-ups, certainly not in front of everyone else anyway.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you both so much for talking to me this morning. I'm really looking forward to seeing your show. It starts on the 2nd of May in Brighton and runs to the 6th of May at Theatre Royal. So we'll see you then, and hopefully the press office will send you down to the beach to recreate some of those pictures.
Ooh, yes. That would be nice.
Well, if the weather will be nice. The weather will be nicer by then. I'm definitely heading down to the beach.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I will see you there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
very much.
Bye now.
Lovely to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, I can't wait to see that one when it arrives in Brighton on Tuesday, the 2nd of May, just for 1 week.